Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Swampcast recruiting version of our Swampcast. I'm Robbie Andreu with the Gainesville Sun and Gatorsports.com with Zach Abolverdi. He's done a great job recruiting, a lot of stuff on the internet, and a lot of videos, which kind of got people a little bit upset, I guess, at other sites. But you really went in there and got them, which was a good thing.
That's what people want to see, so I had to do what I had to do.
Well, Zach, you've been a busy man and a lot of work left to do, and a lot of work for Florida because you're looking at recruiting day, signing day, boom or bust for Florida. They've got so many guys. They're going to make decisions on signing day, and I know they feel good about a lot of them. You know, there's talk of silent commitments, but, you know, they're as flimsy as verbal commitments, so you don't know until signing day. So I'm just saying, let's go over some of the guys that are on the fence and could make or break this year, make an elite class or a really good class.
Definitely. Well, Florida has about 14 guys left on their board, and 9 of them are going to be making decisions on National Signing Day. So it's going to be a pretty hectic day on February 1st. The guys that they have left on their board, they have 2 receivers, the 5-star receivers, Nelson Aguilar and Stephon Diggs. They have 2 offensive linemen, Avery Young and Jake Meter. They have the defensive tackle from Illinois, Vincent Valentine, 2 defensive ends, Darius Hamilton and Leonard Williams, the 5-star linebacker Josh Harvey Clemens, and Nelson Aguilar's teammate, linebacker Skylar Miles. And then the last guy is Tracy Howard, the 5-star cornerback.
Well, Zach, let's start about maybe the biggest need of those guys would have to be receivers.
Without
they
a
need
doubt.
impact receivers. These are 2 5-star guys that can make a huge impact. Where do you think Florida stands, and what kind of predict where you think both those guys are going to go on signing?
Well, I think Florida is actually in better shape with Diggs than they are Aguilar, which is
I think
which
they
is
are
strange.
too. From reading your stuff, I see the same thing.
Well, I mean, it's strange that the they don't feel so good about the Florida kid, but the Maryland guy they can go grab. So I think Florida's in good position with both. I mean, as you know, there's been a lot of rumblings lately that Aguilar is favoring USC, or USC's right there in the picture after months and months of everyone saying, "Oh, he's going to go to Florida," without a doubt.
Yeah.
So things are kind of up in the air right now. In my opinion, I don't think anybody knows what they're talking about. I think everything is an educated guess.
Yeah, it is.
Because he doesn't say anything,
No.
And he's kept everything close to the vest, and that's kind of an understatement. He doesn't do any interviews. So, and the people that say he's leaning this way, I mean, it's really people's opinion at this point.
Yeah, he's given no real indication to anybody, any coaches or recruiting services. And I think that, the talk around his school is that he talks about USC a lot. He really likes USC, and he likes both Kiffins. So, that's something you hear, but you haven't heard anything definitive from him. So I think Florida's in really good shape with him. Does he want to go all the way across country to play where his parents can't see him? Does he go to a school 2 hours down the road where everybody can see him play?
Yeah.
It seems like an easy call, but, it's a tough decision for him.
Yeah, you can never underestimate Lane Kiffin. The fact that he's in the picture, they get the last official visit, who knows what's going to happen. I personally think that because of his ties to Florida, like you said, the distance factor, I think that matters. That's the reason why he chose the Under Armour All-American game, is so his family and friends could come see him. I think that that's going to be a factor when he chooses a college. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes to USC, but I just think with the distance and all the commits that he knows and how he feels about Muschamp, Florida's in good shape for him.
And like you said, he already knows a lot of people at Florida. So he's close to a lot of people here, so it'd be an easy call for him to come here. He'd feel very comfortable from the start, I would think.
Yeah.
But what about Diggs? I mean, he's a guy that's liked Florida a long time. When Weiss left, people started thinking, well, he's not that good, not in there that much anymore.
And even
Florida.
He said that himself.
Yeah.
So,
and now, Peace comes, and they've met, and apparently everything went well there, and it looks like.
Well, Jafar Mann told me this weekend he had his official visit, and, obviously Florida was on him, the coaches were on him, the players on him, the recruits were on him. He told Jafar Mann when he said, you need to come to UF with me, he said, I got you. So, I mean, that could mean everything, that could mean nothing.
Yeah.
But I think Florida's in great shape. The fact that his mom has been to Gainesville twice.
I think that says
a lot. And his family hasn't been any. They didn't go to Cal. They didn't go to Auburn. They aren't going to Ohio State, which is everyone is worried about because of the Urban Meyer factor.
Yeah, the Meyer's got people worried. So now we're seeing Meyer from the other side. Now, we saw him from this side. Now we're seeing him from the other side.
Now he's
a tough
working
guy.
against Florida. But I just think Florida's in great shape. I think that he likes the place. He loved it when he came from Friday Night Lights. He's got Jelani Jenkins here, who's, I've been told that he kind of wants to do his own thing.
Yeah.
But the fact that Jelani's here, they're kind of a couple years apart. So he can still do his own thing. But he has somebody that's there that's familiar. He's familiar with. I think that helps Florida a lot. I ultimately think he's going to be.
Yeah, and this is a guy that wants to play early, right away.
Oh, yeah.
He's an elite player. He's a dynamic player. Explosive. You look at Florida's receiving core, there's no one on there now like him.
No.
So if he comes here, he's playing right away, and I think that's one thing that sold him on Florida a little bit.
Definitely. So, and then now moving forward, they got the offensive lineman. They have to get another offensive lineman.
Yeah, they're coming up short there a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big concern there.
I mean, and the thing about it is they had a lot of great in-state guys that they were in on and just missed for whatever reason. They got DJ Humphreys,
which is huge.
That's a huge get.
Yeah, and you look at what he did at the Army All-American game.
Yeah, he was awesome.
He was the best offensive lineman there by far.
So I mean, Florida's still in it for two guys, Jake Meter and then Avery Young. Meter's a guy where he took an official visit to Florida, and he was committed to Ole Miss prior, and then he decommitted. The longer that he waited, he was supposed to make his decision right afterwards, but he pushed it back, and I think the longer that he waits, it kind of hurts Florida's chances because he wants to stay up north, close to home.
Yeah, I think Big Ten for this guy. And you're right, when he didn't commit after his visit, it was like, okay, he's looking elsewhere, and then he visited Missouri again, and now he's Wisconsin.
I actually think Wisconsin is the front runner because they hired Ole Miss's offensive line coach, and that was his primary recruiter. When he was committed to Mississippi. So. He's taking an official visit. They're going to get their last official visit. Wisconsin is. So, I think he's a no-go for Florida. Avery Young is another guy where
flip a coin with this guy.
I have him in my mock class, but like I said in my blog, he's the guy that I feel the least confident about because he's a guy like Nelson Aguilar. He keeps things close to the vest. No one really knows what he's going to do. It's a two-team race really between Florida and Auburn. Auburn. Georgia's in there too.
Georgia's in there a little bit. He's talked up Georgia quite a bit.
Yeah, but see, his mom it's really, in my opinion, it's going to come down to his parents because he lives with his dad down in Palm Beach Gardens, but his mom lives near Auburn, and she wants to be able to come see him play. The thing that helps Florida, to me, is that they are kind of the school that's right in the middle between the two. So, I mean, that would be the fairest destination for him as far as, how far each parent would have to drive. But we'll see what happens. I mean, who knows? That might not mean anything.
Yeah, and I think Florida's done a great job recruiting this kid, but I think they're having a hard time getting a feel one way or the other. I think some guys they feel are going to fall their way on signing day. This is a guy I don't think they know either way right now.
I don't think they know either. I mean, they're putting the full court press on him, and we'll just have to wait and see. He's a national signing day guy. Then you move over to the defensive side of the ball. You got the defensive tackle Vincent Valentine, who he loved this official visit this month, but
again, no commitment came out.
No, and he was such a Nebraska lean, and I just don't see him going anywhere but with the Cornhuskers. I just think Florida's just a half of the table.
And I just saw today that he says he's made up his mind. He knows where he's going. Yeah. And he loved his Florida visit. He says the coaches here, he's close to them, but he's been favoring Nebraska for a long time, and he'd be a big get for Florida, but I have a feeling he's fallen.
Yeah, and he's not a huge loss because they have three defensive tackles already.
Yeah,
so,
they're okay at tackle.
Yeah,
that's fine.
They're not going to hurt. Then you go to the defensive ends. Darius Hamilton, the 5-star defensive end from Don Bosco Prep in New Jersey. It's a Rutgers-Florida race. Yeah. Rutgers is the hometown team. His mom loves the school. She's never been to Florida. I think that pretty much says it all. I don't expect him to. He's actually committing on January 31st, 8 p.m. So, he's expected to pick the Scarlet Knights. Then you got Leonard Williams. He's a guy that's
he's an enigma too. Yeah,
he grew up a Florida fan. Florida was his leader after the Tennessee game when he took a visit there, and then they were the co-leader. And then all of a sudden he's a no-show for three official. He scheduled three official visits to Florida, and then he no-shows.
Yeah.
So I mean, that right there tells me more than anything, And I really don't know where he's leaning. He's got USC, Auburn, Florida State's in the mix, but I just think he just took an official visit to Florida. He finally did show up, but I just think it's a little bit too late for them. And
it seems like a little bit of an uncomfortable fit with Florida in this guy. I mean, he couldn't get around to visiting, and now he finally did late. And I don't know if it's going to be enough to sway him here, but Auburn's a school that you hear a lot with this guy. Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up at Auburn playing against Florida at some point.
Yeah, they were his co-leader. That's probably, a safe bet is where he's headed. Before we get to linebacker, we got the defensive end linebacker, Dante Fowler.
He is one of the most interesting cases of the recruiting here. Will he flip or won't he flip?
Every story that I've done on him has been interesting, to say the least.
Oh, yeah.
He always gives me a good quote, and I personally like the kid. I think he's a fun kid to interview, whether fans disagree with how he's handled the process. He's a good kid. I personally think he wants to come to Florida, but I just think that there's too many factors that have him pushed to FSU.
Yeah, he's been committed for a year, basically.
Yeah. So. And his dad's a big FSU fan. His family are big FSU fans. it wouldn't all shock me if he makes a switch. There's actually, some Florida reporters that actually think he will, but I'm not one of those people.
I'm not seeing it either.
Yeah.
But I give him credit for at least looking at Florida, because Florida is a great option for him with playing time right away, things like that. The depth chart here is much better for him than it is at Florida State. But he's got allegiances to FSU. He's been committed for a long time. Yeah. And when it comes down to who you sign with, it's going to be with FSU, I think, on him.
Then we move over to linebackers. Josh Harvey Clemens is 5-star linebacker from Valdosta, Georgia. He's another guy where it's kind of you don't know what he's going to do on signing day.
No, he's a priority though.
Yeah, and we were just talking about it before we did the video. It's a Florida Georgia race. FSU's in the mix as well, just because of the distance. There's people that say he's going to Florida. There's people say he's going to Georgia. There's people say that now FSU's a front runner after he took. So it's, rumors are just running crazy right now.
Typical signing day stuff the last few days when the rumors fly. But he could end up anywhere. I have a feeling like it's a Florida Georgia thing. But that could change. FSU, like I said, is right down the road for him, and apparently he had a really good visit. So we'll see with him. But he'd be a huge get, no doubt about it. A great athlete.
Yeah, and I think that again, he's one of those kids where it comes down to distance. He wants to go to Georgia, but that's a 4-hour drive. Yeah. Florida's just an hour down the road.
Yeah, Florida's more of a home. Florida's more of a home team to him.
Yeah. But then again, if distance is the key, then he'd go to Florida State, which
is like 20 minutes away. You're right.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with him. He's a guy where you really won't know until he picks up his hat. So.
Oh yeah.
And then you got the linebacker Skylar Miles, Nelson Aguilar's teammate.
He says he's making his mind up Friday, so he'll know going into signing day. But
his finalists are Florida, West Virginia, and Kansas.
That's a no-brainer to most people, but
who knows? I think Florida has the advantage. I just think with those options that he has, the Gators are the best choice for him. They offered him initially as a fullback, which he was kind of he was appreciative of the offer, but that's not where he wanted to play. And then when Weiss left and Peace came in, the new offensive coordinator, they didn't want him on offense. They wanted him for defense.
Yeah, which was a good move on Florida's part, because that's what he wanted to hear, and that's what he heard. Now, he's got a tough decision to make. But, it's like Hamilton, though, with him. Rutgers versus Florida, the Big East versus the SEC. I don't get it. To me, an elite player goes to play against the best, but he wants to stay close to home.
And usually Mama gets her way when they have their opinion.
But Miles, I don't know, maybe he doesn't want to stay close to home and play in the best conference. He wants to play somewhere else. But.
Yeah. Well, and then the last guy, Tracy Howard, I think Mama's going to get her way with this one.
I think you're right on that one. He keeps talking about Miami here late, and Miami's definitely feeling good about him, but he's been a Florida guy for a long time, and his mom has been a Florida lady for a long time.
Yeah, and he just, Miami and FSU are right there now that we're getting close to signing day, but 2 weeks ago, they weren't even in the top two.
Not even
they
close.
They weren't talking to him. It was all Florida, LSU.
Yeah, LSU just kind of disappeared.
Yeah, Florida's been there from the beginning. They've been there every time he puts out a top list of schools. He favored Florida early on. He's got a great relationship with Travaris Robinson. They squashed the whole Brian Poole, Tracy Howard beef that
they took a picture together on the recruiting visit to say, hey, look, we get along fine.
Yeah, we get along fine. They went, and I talked to Brian Poole after his visit. He said he wants Howard to come. So I think that Florida's in great position for him. I think that him saying all this is kind of just to build up suspense. I've heard just too many positive things about him that make me think that he's not going to go to Florida.
Yeah, but he and Poole come on board with the guys they signed last year. What a great secondary they're going to have in terms of talent. It's going to be really unbelievable. But Zach, every year there's talk of a signing day surprise. Will there be another running back? Is there going to be a surprise, or is it going to be pretty much what we expect on signing?
I think Florida shut it down at running back. I think that with the guys they have in 2013, I honestly think
class.
I think they think they're better than the guys that they could have go after this year. I think they probably even think he's better than Matt Jones. They have some elite running backs next year. They're in the top list for all of them. So I don't think a running back's going to come up. Really, if anybody comes up, they might pull a quarterback. That's one that they're going after. They're probably going to get a quarterback. We really don't know who they're going to go after. They got 3 guys that they're targeting. They might add Dante Fowler, but
to me that would be a big surprise because it's a guy that's been committed for so long to FSU. That would be a surprise.
Yeah. So if they add a quarterback, they probably won't do it till National Signing Day. They got 3 guys: Skylar Morningwig, Paxton Lynch. And then they got Jacob Guy, who might come on as a walk-on.
Yeah.
But right now, we're really unsure about what's going to happen because Morningwing has to make his decision. He's a Penn State commit. Paxton Lynch is kind of waiting on an offer. He may come the last weekend for an official visit. He may not. It's kind of up in the air right now. I mean, maybe by the next time we do a video, we'll already know.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff happening. And that's why now you look at people on the internet. They're saying that they're calling in sick on Wednesday because it's going to be such a huge day for Florida with decision making. So it's going to be, going to be an exciting day for Florida, and could be a huge day. This could be one of the best classes in the country, maybe the number 1 or 2
like
class.
Like you said, it's boom or bust. If they land, half of the guys that they have left on their board, I think they're going to have a great class. If they miss, especially at receiver, they don't land either one of those, which I don't think is going to happen. But if they miss on a couple guys, it could hurt them. Especially with all these kids choosing. You got 9 kids making their decision. That's a tough deal right there.
Yeah.
You don't know what they're going to do when it's that kind of a situation. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. Well, Zach, it's going to be a lot of fun, and thanks for watching, and we'll be back again. And check us out on signing day 2, along with the video we have now. Until then, we'll talk to you later.